Welcome back to the Parrot Press. Welcome back to the Parrot Press. In today's video, we're going to be talking about wildcards. Now, I know that a lot of FPL managers are playing wildcards over the international break, and hopefully I can give you an insight of which players that you should be picking and choosing for the next 7 or 8 game weeks and potentially beyond as well. There's 4 things that I always look at: fixtures, form, stats and eye test. So let's get into the video. Okay, so starting with fixtures, who are the teams that have got the best run of fixtures in the next 7 or 8 game weeks? As you can see here, I've got Arsenal, Chelsea, Leeds, Man City, Southampton and Wolves. I believe that we should be targeting a few players from each of those teams in our wildcards, as they've got the best chance of scoring points. Now, don't get me wrong, there are still other people that are going to be scoring points, the likes of the Liverpool folks, probably Manchester United. You've got Everton in there as well, and Brentford's run is decent after Chelsea this game week. But these 6 sides, I feel, that are in good form. You've got Arsenal there that are picking up form. You've got Chelsea, who are Chelsea, defensively solid and obviously score goals going forward. You've got Leeds. They're a little bit unpredictable. You never know what Leeds are going to turn up, if they're going to get the clean sheet or if they're going to score 5, 6 goals or just win, but a 1-0 or a 2-1. But their fixture run is crazy, really. Man City score tons of goals, and obviously the good chance of a clean sheet as well. You've got Southampton in there, so they're one to watch. They've got Leeds, Burnley, Watford, Villa, Norwich in their next 5. So the likes of Livramento, Armstrong, we'll come on to those guys in a minute, but they might be worth a punt in your side. And also you've got Wolves there at the bottom, which have already had a few good game weeks, but that continues with Villa, Leeds, Everton, Palace. They've got West Ham, but then Norwich and Burnley as well. So they've got a good stretch coming up. So that's the fixtures, but now I just want to get straight into the team that I would pick if I was wildcarding now. And I'll also talk about some of the other players that you could potentially consider or swap in and out for the players that I've chosen. Alright, so here it is. Let's start with the goalkeepers. So I've got Ramsdale in there and I've got Foster. As I said about Arsenal, they've had a good run in the last few game weeks. He's had 3 clean sheets in the last 4, and the next few fixtures are decent for them as well. So at 4.6 for a starting goalkeeper at Arsenal, who last year were defensively solid and this year starting to pick up form, I think that's a no-brainer. That's just set and forget. Other ones to mention in there are Sanchez, because I always think that Brighton are good defensively and he's in my current team at the moment. And if you wanted to go up another price bracket, you could be looking at the Wolves goalkeeper as well. But I think Ramsdale is the one to go for. The second choice there is Foster. He looks like he's claimed the number 1 shirt back at Watford, so I'd leave him in there. And you could potentially rotate depending on fixtures as well. Even if Foster loses position, I don't see Ramsdale losing his position in the upcoming weeks, so he can just sit on the bench. So taking a look at the defence, I've got double Chelsea. I think that they're going to be the side that keeps the most clean sheets this season. And Rudiger seems nailed on. He's played every single game this season so far. And Azpilicueta, more than likely, he's gonna start as well. And especially over the likes of Thiago, Christensen. You've got Chalobah as well. You've got Reece James, who is normally a doubt. You've got Hudson-Odoi, who can play as the right wing back. You've got Alonso and Chilwell, and that's a massive headache as well. So I feel that these 2 are the best Chelsea defenders to have in your side from a clean sheet point of view, but also attacking. Now, Rudiger's a threat going forward at set pieces. And Azpilicueta, I mean, he had 2 assists last week, right, when he plays in that right wing back role. So moving on to Cancelo, I said about the Manchester City fixtures and that they're good going forward, and I think that Cancelo is the best defender to have in terms of defensive and attacking returns. The good thing is with him is that he can play either right back or left back, so you've got double the chance of him starting. And with the pep roulette that goes on, I think that Cancelo is pretty nailed, and I think that he's in good form, so he's in there at 6.2. We've also got Tierney in there. Now, I said about Arsenal's fixtures, and I've got Ramsdale in goal at the moment, so it is a double up of the Arsenal defence, which could be a little bit risky. But with Tierney, he is a threat going forward. Now, he hasn't had massive attacking returns at the moment, but in terms of crosses into the box, I think he's second with the amount of crosses into the box from a defender this season. And with the fixture swing that I've already spoke about with Arsenal, I think that he's got a good chance of attacking and defensive returns. And I think it's only a matter of time before that starts happening. The last one on there is Livramento. Now, he's probably in majority of people's teams, and if you're wildcarding, you're probably going to get him in as well. But again, going back to the fixtures, Southampton have a good run. He's a good player. He gets forward. He's already had attacking returns. He has clean sheet potential because Southampton are starting to find their feet. And the clean sheet against Manchester City is the evidence for that. At 4.2, I think it's a no-brainer. The only other one to mention in there is Duffy. And you could potentially have Duffy instead of Livramento, or you could have Duffy instead of Tierney and save yourself a little bit of money to upgrade elsewhere. What you will notice in that defensive lineup is that I haven't got Trent in there. Now, he's on a current orange flag, I think it is. Now, I fancy him to start this weekend, but he hasn't been available in the last couple of game weeks, or, you know, he was available, then injured, then he wasn't, etc., etc. And to be honest, he was just getting on my nerves a little bit. Is it risky not having him? Yes, it is, but you could get to him. You know, you could upgrade from Cancelo to Trent and then maybe downgrade from Azpilicueta to a Marcel at Wolves or something like that. They're the two that are currently in my side. But I do think that in the next 3 to 4 game weeks at least, that Azpilicueta and Cancelo will give you more attacking returns than Trent and Marcel. But we'll see. But that's the defence that I'd go for at the moment. Okay, so moving on to the midfield. I've gone for Townsend in the first slot at 5.6. So you could have in there Decore, you could have Gray, you could have Mbeumo, you could have Gallagher. I've gone for Townsend. And some people might say that Mbeumo is the best option there at 5.5. He's obviously 0.1 cheaper. He plays up front. But I've just got a funny feeling about Townsend at the moment. And sometimes you do have to go with your gut. I said about the 4 things, the fixtures, the stats, the eye test, and form. And I think that form ticks the box for Townsend. He's on set pieces. You've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison hopefully coming back in the next couple of game weeks as well. And I just like how he looks. As I said, set pieces, penalties, crosses into the box. He's taking long shots. He's already popped up with attacking returns this season as well. And I just like the look of him. Now, the good thing is about Townsend is that he is at that 5.6 price point. So you could go down to Mbeumo, you could go to Gallagher and to the other people that I've just mentioned as well. So when fixtures start to get better for others, you could obviously move him on for somebody else as well. Going on to Salah, I'm not going to say much about Salah. I think that he should be in everyone's wildcard team if you haven't got him, and everyone's normal team as well. There's even an argument for just making him captain week in and week out. The guy's a joke. He just scores when he wants. Rafinha in there. So this is another price point option as well at 6.6. The other people that you could have in there are people like Benrahma, Saka. You've got Souček in there as well, which is in my current team, and these stats look great. But there's a few that you could go up to and obviously drop down to as well. So it's a good price point. Now Rafinha is the main man for Leeds. Now Bamford, I think, is still out. And Leeds' fixture run, as I said before, the next 5 games are crazy for them. So I fancy Rafinha to just be on everything for them. He's on set pieces. He's the one that's going to be creating everything for them. And he's also the one that's probably going to be finishing off everything for them. So I think that he's a must-have in there at the moment as well. And the last 2 slots, I'm going to talk about them together. At the moment, I've got Foden and Saka in there. Now, tripling up on Arsenal as a Tottenham fan is not ideal, but Saka offers good value at 6.3, and with him nailed on to start pretty much week in and week out, you can tell that he's going to be around the goals and the assists in terms of attacking returns. As I said before, though, you could go to people like Benrahma, Mbeumo, the Gallaghers around that price point as well. But talking about Foden, you've got the pick of a bunch here with Manchester City. It's just if you're willing to take that risk. You've got Foden, Grealish and Torres. Now, if Torres plays, he probably outscores Foden and Grealish. But he hasn't started in the last 3 games for Manchester City, so that's obviously a big risk. Now, Grealish has started every single game, and he's been taken off twice early. I think it was against Norwich and against Liverpool. You can tell that he's pretty much a nailed-on starter for Manchester City, if you can say that about Pep as well. But Foden's played really well in the last 2 games, and he's just coming back from injury. So being a little bit more fresh, is he going to be the starter? He can play as the false 9 as well, right? So is it worth taking a punt on him? Potentially, and I would at the moment. Again, you can go all the way down to somebody like a Smith Rowe. You could go to the Benrahma, as I said before. You could go to Gray. You could go back down to Sarr, Mbeumo, Jota. The list kind of goes on about who you could go to here. So I just think we're talking about price points as well as form, fixtures, and some stats as well. Now, I can't really compare Grealish against Foden at the moment because obviously Grealish has played a lot more football than Foden, so it'd be unfair to do so. But if you're worth a punt, he's only 2% owned at the moment. So he could be your differential. So moving on to the forwards, let's talk about Jimenez first. As I said before, Wolves have got a good fixture run. He seems to have found a little bit of form in the last couple of games. He's getting in the right positions. He's got a high number of shots on target. He's got a high number of touches inside the box. And he's nailed on. He's going to start every single game. There's no risk of rotation there for me. The other person you could talk about there is actually saving almost 2 million with Wang. But he's also competing with Traore, Trincao, Podence, and in the long run when Neto comes back as well. So he might be nailed and he might be the biggest bargain in FPL at the moment. So it's one to keep an eye on. But if you're after that solid position up front, that you've got no rotation risk at all, and with the good fixtures, then Jimenez he's your guy. Other price points around there as well. You've got Bamford when he comes back. You could go down to St. Maximum. You've got Tony there or thereabouts. You've got Mopé as well. You've got Antonio for 0.5 above that. But at the moment, I feel at 7.5, it's a good price point, and Wolves are playing pretty decent. And also, Jimenez is in good form. So I expect a few goals from him in the upcoming game weeks. Moving on to Lukaku, he's got the yellow flag at the moment, but I think that he plays, judging by the comments from the Belgium camp this week. And I've spoken about Chelsea with Rudiger and Azpilicueta. Their fixtures look good. I think that he's the better choice over Ronaldo at the moment, and you can save yourself $1 million. But again, at that price point, you could always find $1 million, by taking Foden out, going down to Mbeumo or whatever, and upgrading to Ronaldo. Now, Ronaldo's fixtures, I think they swing in about 5 game weeks' time. In the next few, they're pretty tough. But I feel that Lukaku is the premium forward choice that needs to be in your side at the moment. And the last spot that I'm going to talk about there is Adam Armstrong. Now, again, I've spoken about Southampton's fixture swing, and I feel as though Adam Armstrong has got a lot to give. Southampton are just finding a little bit of form there. It's a bit of a risk that Ward-Prowse is going to be suspended because from his delivery and from his through balls and things like that. But I think it's only 1 game week. And they can create chances, they are an attacking side. They're not somebody who's just going to sit on the edge of their own box and defend. And I think that Adam Armstrong, with that turn of pace, with some of the counter-attacks that they like to play, I think that he's one to watch. And I'm just checking how much he's owned by now. He's only 2.6% selected by FPL managers. So again, if you're looking for that differential, rather than having the Antonios, the St. Maximums, the Tonys, I think he's your guy at 6.0. So again, talking about a price point though, you can go up and down with him. It's not like he's a 4.5 and you've got nothing in the bank at all. You've got no flexibility elsewhere in the team. You can go down to the 4.5 if you really need to get the funds out, but you can also go up. You could potentially go to Antonio for 8 million, just save 2 million somewhere else. The 2 million could be from a Foden. The 2 million could be from an Azpilicueta and going down to a 4.0 if you're going to play the 4-4-2 and you want Livramento starting. So there's always flexibility in a team like this. And looking at it, I think that all of these 15 players start pretty much week in and week out. And even if one misses, you've got bench cover. And with things that are going on at the moment with the Brazilian national side, not releasing players back or whatever's going on there, and they might not be able to play for a game week, so for the likes of Rafinha might miss out, then all of a sudden you've got somebody like Livramento, you've got potentially Tierney, Armstrong coming off the bench. And at the moment, especially for my side, I haven't got that cover. I haven't got the players that can come off the bench. I think I've got Gilmore, Tsimikas and Scarlett. Now, Gilmore sometimes starts and gets the point, but it's not like having somebody like Armstrong come off your bench if you didn't want to start him. The other good thing, and a lot of people do this, is they play their wild card and then the week after that they'll play their bench boost. Now that's because, again, they're selecting people that start all of the time. So if the fixture runs are good, as I said, for the likes of Arsenal, which I've tripled up on, doubled up on Manchester City, you've got triple Chelsea, you've got Wolves in there, Leeds in there that have got good fixture runs. You've got Salah who can score when he wants, and you've got the Southampton boys as well in terms of Livramento and Armstrong, and they've all got good fixtures. They might all have a green tick for next week in terms of games, in terms of easy games. So that might be another good shout for you as well. So I hope I gave you guys some tips about who to consider for your wildcard teams and even your transfers for this game week. But if you like the video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button too. Follow me over on Twitter at the Parrot Press, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care.